Taking a look at a Benchmade. It's a fixed Presidio 155. I've been reviewing this knife for quite a while now. I think I've had it since November of last year, so it's probably going on about 9 months. I've been using it and keep it within arm's reach almost the whole time. I just really like this knife. I've come from some larger knives in the past, and looking at the Benchmade site and deciding what knife to get. This one, just everything about it. I just like the looks of it. Of course, that's a big factor for most of us. But I like the design. I like the shapes. I like the way that you just from looking at it on the pictures on the web or on their website, I thought I would like it. And once I got it, as soon as I opened it up out of the box, I knew that I made the right choice. Really well made, strong, super strong knife. Of course, there's not much to a knife except for the blade and the handle, and that's what it's all about on this one. I wanted this one to be a fighting knife. I don't have any delusions of grandeur or anything, but if I ever do need to take a bear on mano a mano, I want to have a knife with me instead of just nothing. So one of the things I had in mind and when I think about fighting with a knife, I think about holding the knife this way, and this one really lends itself for my hand and probably for most people. Very solid. It's got an aggressive yet subtle sort of a snake belly type of grooves here. So if anyone's ever rubbed the belly of a snake, I think most people have probably done that. It's got these ridges, so they go this way and this way from the center, and I have no idea if the quality of this video will do it or not, but what that means is when you're holding the knife this way, it stays in your hand, and when you're holding the knife this way, it stays in your hand. I can push my thumb here, even though there's not some shapely divot or anything. There's no way my finger is going to really go forward. It's hitting these ridges and they're working against my hand to keep it right there. It's got just enough of a little tang here and just enough here to give you real control over the tip of this knife when you're cutting or prying or carving or whittling or whatever you're doing with that knife. Balanced really well. I just can't say enough about it, and everybody's going to get bored of me talking about how much I like this knife. I'm not paid by Benchmade to say it. I really just like this knife. It's in the OD green. That was my choice because I like OD green. I think they make it in a black and I don't know, maybe tan. The blades or the scales are just attached with bolts, and they're not Allen. They're stars, or you can take them apart with the Benchmade toolbox, which I usually keep around. Anyhow, I never had to do anything with them. They've never loosened up or anything, and I throw this knife all the time, smack on it with pieces of wood. I'm really trying to get it to break so I can say, well, it's a great knife but I've never gotten it to break, so I still have to just say it's a great knife. Along with the knife, though, it comes with the sheath, and it's a decent sheath made by Eagle in the USA. I love the idea of having a knife that's completely USA, even the nylon stuff. Because it's Eagle, it's just awesome. Double row of stitching everywhere. So even though there doesn't seem like, from a few feet away, it doesn't seem like anything super awesome, it is super awesome. It's a heavy nylon. The straps, I should say the pals webbing is all correct. Of course, it's got a couple of different options. I can either just put it on a belt or strap with this sort of break-free Velcro loop, which is nice. You don't have to take off all your pants or your belt or whatever if you just want to slip the knife on, and it's secure. It'll take a little bit to get this on, but once it's on, your body smashing against your belt is going to keep this Velcro shut and keep it in place. Now, there was a piece of metal here, if I remember right, and it was annoying because I didn't use it with this drop leg thing, which is what it was meant to kind of strap into. Basically, this is a piece of elastic. This is just a giant piece of Velcro, and if this, imagine a metal like oval through here, this would feed through that oval and then come back up and allow you to have this around a duty belt or a weapons belt or whatever, and have this as sort of a drop leg thing. And I never wear it that way. I had no intention of wearing it that way, so that I left aside, and I left this piece of elastic on it just because I don't happen to be using it. And I took off that piece of metal because it would basically just flop and make a little noise on here on the top of the scabbards. These are aluminum scabbards, by the way, or aluminum scales, by the way. Back to the sheath. We've got that attachment point. We've had that drop leg attachment point. Now in the front here, once you've got the knife in, it goes into a piece of, I think it's leather. I don't think it's Kydex, or if it is Kydex, it's very leather-like. It's like a fibrous Kydex. You get the knife in there, very strong. I don't think there's any way this is going to come free and, you know, expose the blade or anything. Now it's got snaps, and I complain about snaps all the time, unless I'm talking about Eagle gear, because they know what a snap is for and they build their snaps appropriately. So if they're on there well, which isn't a big deal on this, but it'll stop it from sagging and, you know, falling apart or whatever on you. But what's nice is, let's say you're going to be doing some serious walking, you know you're not going to need your knife. This part is Velcro, so I can wrap this straight across, come back, and hit this if I'd like. And then that can lock in. Now that knife will not come out of there. This piece of Velcro has completely encased it in there. Now let's say you're the other way and you think you're going to be using your knife quite a bit. You know, you're around camp and you're going to be taking it in and out of your pocket or something. You can, with this Velcro, take it back the other way and snap it again. And now it's snapped in an open position, and you have total access to your knife at any time. Since the majority of your blade is down here in the sheath, it's not like it's just going to jump out and fall out. So unless you're doing gymnastics around the camp, it's going to stay in there. I really like the idea, you know, real simple stuff, real simple design, yet, you know, perfect. It just works exactly how you'd want it to work. And it allows you to change, you know, your mission, or change your what you're doing, your tasks with the knife. So we've got the nice attachment there. You notice I've got this 550 just sort of threaded up. Now I personally don't use it as a leg tie, but if I was going to be doing gymnastics, let's say, and I needed to put, you know, strap something to keep it from flapping, you know, tie this around my leg, I could do that. But what I end up doing with this is, a lot of times if I'm at camp, I'll leave the thing the snap there connected, and I'll just hang this 550, you know, over the limb of a tree or something. And just have this sort of hanging available for me. But when I'm not doing that, I just bring it up through the PALS webbing, and then it just happens to work out perfect to go right back down and sort of into its own knot at the bottom and just sort of stay in there. Hasn't been a problem for me, hasn't caught on anything yet. On the back though, you do, like I mentioned, have the PALS webbing, and it comes with keepers to strap it on with. Can't think of the name of that right now. I don't use them. Obviously this one's brand new. I prefer to either use 550 or the nylon style. In any case, it's a decent knife. It's the Benchmade Black series, and that's for the, you know, the basically the knives that are made to be used. So, you know, they've got better materials in them. They've got better, you know, quality manufacture, and just, you know, more aggressive knives really. Going back to the knife a little bit, like I mentioned, you've got the surface at the bottom here, so if you needed to use it as a hammer to bust a window or something, you don't have to worry about damaging the blade. Substantial hole for a lanyard. It's a big deal for me. I really like having a lanyard on knives. Actually, I stole this one out of here. I usually keep a lanyard on about that long. I took it off of here for something else I needed it for, which is one of the reasons I carry around a lanyard on stuff, so that I can have it for that. So now that I've got it here sort of at home base, I'll go ahead and, you know, cut off another piece of 550 cord and put it back on. The scales are aluminum, as I mentioned. They've got that sort of snake belly type of texture to them that goes, basically I can slide my finger to here, and then the pattern changes, and now it's very sticky to move my finger past it. If I go this way, it's very smooth till I get to here, and then it's very tacky to go forward again. So the idea being that when you're back here, you're fine, but then once you get in the danger of having your hand slip up to the blade or whatever, you've got some, you know, some physical resistance from that happening. Like I mentioned, you got a little bit of a tang here and here to hold your fingers up off the blades, but you've also got a little bit here, which I end up, you know, again, if I'm doing something there, the blade lends itself to doing finer work sometimes, picking something out, or, you know, cutting a little something small. So you know, it definitely gives you that fulcrum there. This is basically where it's balanced right here by that bolt, so it's just right in this area that the distribution of weight on the knife works for you. It's got some serrations here. They make it without serrations, but I really like having serrations. You know, if I've got to get into something and you know, do something, I want my serrations to be right there. Then it's got blade all the way up here. It's a fairly slim blade. It's not really thick. It's a substantial blade, but it doesn't seem real heavy. It doesn't seem real thick. It does get a little narrower at the tip of the blade. I would call it a Bowie style blade. I don't know, maybe there's another name for it. So you've got blade down to here. It is sharpened right here at the tip until you hit these serrations, and then there's another set of serrations, basically an equal set of serrations up here, and then there's just an artificial blade. It's not a sharpened blade here, but it's still, you know, appropriate if you were fighting or whatever. Then it's just plain up here. So if you really needed to, you know, give something some extra pressure, you could slip your thumb up forward here and you're not going to hurt yourself, but I've actually never done that. Some of the people that have used it and I've showed it to have suggested wrapping 550 around the handle, but I suspect if they used it a little bit more, they'd find out that while it seems a little narrow the first time you pick it up, it's really not a disadvantage. There's just enough heft in the handle to really, you know, make it seem substantial. It's just really a great balance knife. I really like this knife. So this is the Benchmade 155 fixed Presidio. And just to get some of the physical dimensions down on it, it's got about a 6.5 inch blade, a 6-inch blade. I guess it depends on where you want to call the line there. And then overall it's about 11 inches, 11.5 inches, just about on the dot. And definitely full tang. That one piece of blade goes around the front all the way through. The handles are aluminum scales with sort of a snake belly texture, held on by a couple of bolts that use that star pattern. Now, wasting time there as I bring out the scale again. And we're looking at 10 ounces, well, 10.2 ounces for the knife itself. And the holster has, or the sheath has a couple of different varieties here, but I'm going to do it with the slim down version that I carry it with. And we're looking at 13.6 ounces. So for a knife that I suspect could probably take you to hell and back, we're looking at under 1 pound. Just a great length, great size. I gotta tell you, this is probably the best fixed knife I've ever owned. And that's saying a lot. I've got a few knives. And really, really like this one.